what I said we want to achieve this evening, the first thing we will do in this use case, we first of all build an approval process. So along the process, I will explain some things. I don't want to really go into PowerPoint presentation, theoretical part of approval process, but I'm going to discuss all those stuff when I get to the uh, point when I want to build the approval process. And if you want to search for approval process, you want to go to the approval process um, approval process as a tool. You go to the setup. From the setup, you type in approval process. Then you click on approval process here. Then the kind of approval process you will manage approval process for what? What object do I want to manage the approval process for? In this case, is what object? What object do I want to manage this approval process for? I want to create an approval process for the first time. When I create this approval process, and I've been telling us that a certain object I want to build the approval process on, that when the object record reach a certain stage, then the amount of that object is worth up to 60,000. I can even make it 100,000. Then what object? What is the object? Just for me to know we're on the same page. What is the object I want to build this on? I mentioned it over and over. It's an opportunity object. I'm building it on an opportunity object. Then I go to opportunity. From the opportunity, I go to, there are different ways you can create an approval process. There are two ways you can create an approval process. Please take note of that. There are the two options you have there. Use Jumpstart Wizard is one case, is one way you can create it, or another way, use Standard Setup Wizard. Those are the two ways. Let me say it again. You might see it in the multiple choice questions. What are the ways to create approval process? The first one is you can use Jumpstart Wizard to create it, or you use Standard Setup Wizard. And in most cases, I've not seen a where I have not even used it in the past to get any job done. I've not been seeing configuration with the Standard Setup Wizard. It has always been use Jumpstart Wizard, but just for you to know, there is another one called Use Standard Setup Wizard, but I'm using Use Jumpstart Wizard to get this job done. Now, I'm going to name this approval process. I'm going to say opportunity approval. Let me name it opportunity approval. Opportunity approval. What I put opportunity approval. Then I'm not going to use approval assignment email templates. I'm not going to use that. What I'm going to use is flow to call the approval for me. And at this level, I'm not going to use criteria. I'm not going to use criteria yet because I want to use flow to call it. I didn't mean ordinarily if it is the second use case that we're going to demonstrate, we're not going to use flow to call it. Then if it is in that case, definitely I can say when criteria are met, or I can use formula to evaluate it. But in this case now, what I'm going to do, because I want to use flow to call it, I will set up the criteria when I get to the flow. I want all the opportunity to go through this process. So when they go through this process, then that job will be done then when we get to the workflow. So I want all my opportunity to enter into approval process so that whenever we call it at the front end, any criteria that meet up with that using decision action or decision element, when we make our flow to take decision, then definitely it's going to be able to, at the action end, our flow will be able to call approval process. Now, what I'm going to do now is to say, let submitter choose the approval manually, whereby you want whoever your end users that is going to submit the approval, you want the end users to choose the approval manually on his own. No, I want a case whereby it will be automatic. So you can automatically assign approval using a standard or customer hierarchy field, which we will not be able to use because we don't have this platform does not give us room to have access to as many users as possible. Doing that will not make it possible for us to demonstrate this particular hand-on practice on our own on the platform. So we can now say, okay, the users, then I will pick myself as the approver. I'll pick myself as approver. I will have two active users on this platform, Jack Rich and myself. What will happen in this case? I will use myself as approver, while Jack Rich will be the person that will update or create approval, create an opportunity that will actually make the approval process to trigger through flow that will meet those criteria that we're going to set at the end of the day. Now, let's make let it be like this. Now, when multiple approvers are selected, when you select multiple approve or get based on the false response. See, this aspect I want to tell you, I've been saying it in past questions. When in a case you pick a user to automatically be approver for this approval process, that is okay. And that's what I've picked. Now, I'm now telling you that in a situation whereby you have multiple approvers, that means more than one person need to approve. What are the things that can happen? You can set it to say, approve or reject based on the first response, which I've given to myself. I'm the only one that is going to approve this, and it's going to be based on the first response. And at the same time, you can have multiple of users on your platform that can actually approve approval process. So in that case, there are two ways it can happen: approve or reject based on the first response. So that means if you have more than one person now that can actually approve approve an opportunity that is up to 60,000 and is meeting at a negotiation stage, then the thing is that if you have more than 2-3 persons, I'm saying that the first person to approve it is okay. But if it requires unanimous approval from all selected approvers, that means, let's say all of us now here. Now, what I'm saying is that if it happened that we are all an approvers on the platform, there are two cases that can happen where in a case we have multiple approvers. If Bratayo is the first person that responds and approve the approval process, then it's sealed. If that is what I pick at the level of configuration here, one person, we are done. But if it requires unanimous, collective response, then all of us must approve and selected to approve unanimously, all of us must say yes to it. So if all of us say no, no, if all of us say yes. So that's what they are trying to say here. So I've seen questions like that in the past. Just take note if it's happened. Now, let me save. The system is trying to tell us that, remember, you will not be able to use this approval process on it has been activated. Now, I will go in there and activate it. View approval process detail page. That's where you need to click on, because if you don't click on that, you will not get to where you will be able. So I will click view approval process detail. Then at this page now, I can say yes to it or no to it. Now let me show you some stuff here. This is where we activate it. There are different action steps involved in approval process. Let us take note of all these things I want to discuss. For the case of the multiple choice questions, the first actions that will happen when you have approval process, the first stage is going to go through is initial submission action. And at this initial submission actions, when the approval is submitted, the record is locked. The person that submit that record will not be able to edit it. It will go to the submitter and approver. Then final approval action that is going to happen. Log the record for being edited now. So when that record has gone for approval, you can just, if the record is locked, nobody can edit something on it and start manipulating figures or something. For, maybe security reasons and all the rest. That's why they put all those things in place. The final approval action can be to say, I approve or I reject. If you want to add any approval step to it, you can add it. But if you don't want to add it, just jump this one. Then at the final approval action, these are the things that can happen. It can be task. You can use the final approval process to create a task or send email alert, feed update, or outbound message. These are the 4 options you have at the final approval actions. Let us take note of it. We have tasks, email alerts, feed update, and outbound message. Now, if somebody can decide to approve something for some reasons, somebody can decide to not to approve or reject something for some reasons. If that reasons for rejection is met, then automatically we also have different options, either to send to create a task, or to send email alert, or feed update, or outbound message. Now, another final one, recall an action. So the action can be recalled to as well say to create as email alert, feed update, or outbound message. These are different processes, steps, stages, actions involved in approval process. Initial submission actions, approval step, final approval action, final rejection action, or recall action. They are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are different steps, actions that can actually happen in a Salesforce approval process. But in this case, we're not really doing much here. We're not doing much here. We're not doing anything, because what we're supposed to do, the main bulk of work is going to happen at the level of this thing that we're going to create, the flow. So what I'm going to do at this point is just for me to activate. I will now go to the flow to call the approval process, opportunity approval at the flow level. Then let me activate at this point. After activating this approval process, you cannot add or remove approval step, definitely, because it's final. And some approval step attribute will not be edited to continue. Okay, continue.
Right, that's a wrap up for today's video. I hope you have picked up some valuable insight and actionable tips in Salesforce ecosystem. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Give this video a big thumb up. If you found it helpful, I'm Asikola Oshirikan and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.